shake me on. Hey people! Finished a surf session a little while ago. Just had to chill out a little bit. Get ready for my video. What crocodiles? I guess you caught me in the preparation though. Hey, it's CBD. What did you think it was? Yeah, we got smokable CBD here in California. Another reason not to live in Utah. Another reason. There are multiple reasons. I did just get back and had a nice visit. So I thought I'd do a little catching up on Dodger Dave. Plus, I was watching several videos that I'd like to discuss some of the material on. Couple of anti-Mormon videos by kind of the new girl in town, and also some occult stuff, just to kind of just share a little bit about what's going on in the music industry for a very long time, and every other industry that helps to mind wash us. Yes, I do listen to this terrible devil music, but pretty sure I know what they're saying a lot of the time. So the witchcraft language that's used isn't necessarily brainwashing me the way it is most of the public. And so we're going to listen to and I'll comment a little bit about some Ozzy Osbourne, Jimmy Page interviews and so forth. Just because most people have been conditioned by the Disney Channel to have no freaking idea of the reality of the magic world, and the fact that your leaders in all areas of business, entertainment, politics, etc. are occultists. Alright, let's put this questionable looking stuff away that could have probably got me arrested in Utah. Fortunately, hey, you guys want to see my surfboard? It's in the Elmira Channel Islands. Epoxy. Yeah, I got a really good deal. I don't know, it's a few months ago actually. Some pro surfer chick decided to get rid of her old boards, reduce the size of her quiver, and I kind of scored because this board is basically, it's the exact same model. It's a 7.0 M13 rounded pintail, very light. Same thing I broke in half at Playa Negra when I was living in Costa Rica. I repaired it, but I did a job that added about 5 pounds to the board, which is not a good thing. So yeah, I probably should have had someone else do it. Even though I used to do surfboard repair, I didn't really do epoxy surfboard repair, and it soaked up a bunch of resin and just wasn't good. It never recovered. So though I was very fortunate to locate that my neighbor still had 3 of my surfboards, despite the fact that he had been told by my former wife that I was dead, I guess. Actually, I don't think I confirmed it with him. Just everybody else knew that or told me that I was dead, because she told their wives, who were also friends of mine. I'm just saying the guys actually are the ones that told me, but yeah, their wives had told them, and their wives were good friends of me as well. So that was pretty weird. It's kind of a recovery thing for me. It's kind of a rehabilitation thing for me to get back into surfing, because basically I was pretty out of it for about 7 years now. I had a this nervous breakdown thing lasted more than 4 years. I mean, my wife disappeared 4 years before I walked out of a room. So I probably had to reprogram some neural pathways. I'm just getting where I can get up decently again, let alone see how I can actually, surf on a decent wave. I used to be fairly decent. I got up a few times in Costa Rica when we were there, but it's nothing like it used to be. Although I had a little bit of success today, even though the waves were not very good. That's not super important at this stage of the game because I'm not trying to compete on the level that I did before. So, so I just did this video. I just did that video while I was driving back from Utah, and it was kind of it was giving a lot of history of how I got into the LDS cult, and then my process of discovering that I'd been had, that it was not at all what I had been told that it was, and I'd already been waking up to the fact that our world is a lot different from what they tell us in the mainstream media and at school and all that sort of a thing. So anyway, the trip out to Utah, did I mention what that was about? So some of you know that. Let me back up. So where were we in the story? I had my nervous breakdown yet? Anyway, yeah, that happened basically when we were living in Mexico. So what happened was, quick synopsis, some of you haven't even watched that. I joined the LDS Church when I was like 15 years old, had spiritual experiences, some of which I related in that last video about that, and I've related various other ones in other videos, and I've had a lot of such experiences. So the cognitive dissonance force was strong with me. I was one of those people that had confirmatory experiences that were much more than the warm fuzzies. They came from the magic world with which I was already familiar before joining the church. So it was difficult for me to become a son of perdition, essentially, an apostate who had once said, "I know that the church is true," not just because mommy and daddy said it, because my folks, weren't members. My mom joined when I did, and it was because I had experiences where I said, I can't deny these experiences, and I can't. They were very real, but if you haven't listened to some of them, you should. However, everyone's spiritual experiences, whether they're just emotional, warm fuzzies, or pretty gnarly stuff like I've experienced, tend to reinforce one's belief system, whatever it is. Although the fact remains that I was teaching a Mormon missionary discussion in an investigator's home with another missionary who was a full-time missionary when I had that experience where the voice told me twice, because I resisted the first time, thinking it just seemed like a weird thing to do at that moment in the discussion, to testify in the name of Jesus Christ. And as soon as I did, the room lit up with that just amazing presence where every particle of invisible matter was glowing with an intensity of just euphoria, basically love, goodness, all that stuff, and the people just flipped out and said, "Oh my God, what is this? What's happening, Dave?" And I said, "It's the Spirit telling you that our message is true." Because what else was it going to be, right? So they all got baptized and stuff, and lived unhappily ever after. I'll talk about them later. They're real nice people. Got married on circumstances that I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to mention again. That involved the magic world. I was married for like 16 years, and a couple of years later had a magical experience, which I did not relate, leading to my second long-term marriage. You want to hear it? All right, I'll do that. That's actually kind of hard for me sometimes. That's me in the corner. Losing my religion. This song really gained a lot of meaning for me as I listened to it while I was losing my religion. And I can see my son up on the second floor when I was up here visiting the United States. And I was hearing this song. Maybe he was playing it. So I've actually thought about going and sharing this story where my youngest children can hear it, because I think it might matter. Yeah, so I was about 2 years not married. So I unexpectedly I went to Salt Lake City with my dad, something that he never did. His wife somehow didn't. She probably tried to make me swear I wouldn't try to baptize him there or something. I said, "Don't worry, I won't baptize him." She's a born-again Christian. Formerly, was worshiping Ramtha and all kinds of wild, crazy stuff. The 4,000-year-old lady that reincarnated, whatever. These people went to Mount Shasta to see Saint Germain. I don't know, all kinds of crazy gyrating for world peace stuff while they were in that phase. Their post-est state phase. Est meaning Erhard Seminar training, basically another cult. So I went to Salt Lake City with my dad, and because I was in an MLM, nutritional MLM, who you in Salt Lake definitely know about, because you might go to concerts or other events at the USANA Center. So we went to that, and my dad and I went there, and we sat down at this table. They had, starting the conference thing, and there were no tables that didn't have anybody at them, and there was this girl and her mom. We sat down there, and my dad is the most, he could just make friends and talk with anybody. My grandmother said Phil could charm the leaves off the trees. And, probably so. So anyway, we all got, I don't really know a whole lot of detail about what happened, but this girl started flirting with me, and I'd been 2 years divorced, and at least 14 of the years with my first wife. It was just actually the first 3 weeks were really nice. After that, it was just a scale of getting worse until, it was horrible. So, I played on a softball team. I kind of got recruited to be the shortstop, actually, of this ball team here in North County, because I was at a church league thing. We played church softball, and we were at Del Mar and playing some team there. And anyway, these guys thought, hey, that's the guy we need, for our shortstop. So I got recruited, and I played on this. I started playing with these guys, and they were all Mormons. About a third of them were active in the church, but I don't know how they knew all these other dudes that were inactive, but some of their work and shit. So I'm trying to keep it I'm not going to have a cuss fest on this one, I think. This was co-ed, this team. We later had just a guys team, and we won the city, actually. The reason I brought this up was that just because there were girls on the team, just hearing a female say something positive to me, I was so inundated with just being basically emotionally beaten up by this woman. I don't know, she was like a 13-year-old emotionally frozen because of probably abuse from her fucking Masonic dad. I don't know. I know she had some childhood trauma. So I can't, I have some pity, but she was ruthless. Anyway, just to hear somebody say something nice to me was like, I just felt better as a human being, just by having some interaction where, girls said something positive to me, like, nice hit, nice try, whatever it is, anything positive, just something to make you feel like you're a human being and you're likable. And so here we were at this USANA, the first night of this conference. So it's all about learning more about your vitamins and getting excited about business strategies and all that sort of a thing, right? And I was getting some positive attention, and the next thing you know, good old dad was yak occupying her mom, and we split. And wound up at the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, whatever. There's like nice little gardens there, and benches, and so I wound up staying. Actually, that was kind of a really trippy thing too. So what happened was like the last day of the conference. Yeah, so we started hanging out and shit, right? So she was a returned missionary, a little younger than me. 14 years younger, but she was not 14. Sorry, Joseph Smith, I'm not in your league. No, and she'd waited a couple years to go on a mission. Not that she had to, because of the Mormon tradition of if you're too ugly to get married, then you just go on a mission. That's no longer a thing, I guess. But anyway, I was walking through this door to go outside, and in walked a guy I hadn't seen in since probably 17 years is in my mind, but it's probably longer than that, Anyway, maybe that's what it was. Heck, I don't know. Maybe it was a lot longer than that. Well, that seems, no. 27 years, maybe. Shit, I don't know. Anyway, he walked in. I saw him. He sees me. And this has been a long time. And I'm like, Matthew? My son's name also, right? And another one of my best friends. And he's like, Dave? He's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? So anyway, he was there for the USANA thing too. And I got to catch up with him. And I said, hey, God, I just met some girl. And he's like, hey, you want to come stay with me and my family? So I went and I stayed with his family for a few extra days. Then I flew back to San Diego. And that's really where I kind of got started on, hey, you know what? I got to do something about this being single thing. So in California, you have to agree on a divorce terms, and we hadn't come to terms. Basically, my ex-wife, who wasn't completely exed at that point, had hired the stake patriarch to go against me in the divorce, and then he dumped her, probably for lack of payment or something like that. This was another traumatic thing for me because I thought I was like super good at being Mormon, except for my hair was a little long. Not this long, but I just could never do the freaking gay-ass George Bush white wall missionary bullshit hair guy. I just couldn't do that shit. So, I had to have some individuality. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so anyway, my friend Matt had let me stay at his house, and I met him because he was a missionary when I was like 18, and had been and in my most inactive, in the church and so forth. And basically, I had felt like, hey, I can't even come back. I'm just too bad, smoke too much weed, all that kind of stuff. I'm just a naughty guy. I'm lost cause or something, right? But hell, this guy is doing acid on his mission, but not at that point, anymore, I don't think. And so I made friends with him and his partner, and right after he left, I started coming back to church, and I think we've gone past that point. So there I was. Anyway, got the divorce finalized, then got dumped at the equinox, which was also my brother's wedding day and also my nephew's birthday. So that was kind of rough. And then I started doing some LDS singles thing after a month or so. I was very upset. But then I started doing this internet stuff, and I went on like 2 dates from that. One and done. Go to Chili's, eat, talk, adios. And actually, one of them wasn't. This girl, she wanted to be super holy, so we did an endowment session in the Los Angeles Temple. Isn't that romantic? And then went to like Johnny Rockets and ate something. Anyway, she was a nice girl, but one and done. I knew that she wasn't who I was looking for. So I started going to these church dances, and I met one nice girl that I went out with once up at the Irvine one, and one and done again, Chili's. She told me she left her husband because he wasn't ambitious enough, and I thought, well, that's pretty much adultery if you're believe Mormon doctrine, what's in Matthew chapter 5 and 3rd Nephi chapter 12, I believe. Yeah. It says, if a girl's divorced for anything other than adultery, then you're committing adultery if you marry her. So I was a believer, so I was out, done. And so I'd gone to all these different dances, and just wasn't working out for me, kind of like the Goldilocks thing. No, these chicks are too old. No, they're asking me if I'm a chaperone at SDSU. No, that was no good. And I'd given up on one particular location. Actually, the Irvine was the only one that I was like up for anymore. And then right before this, so I went to this company party. I was pushing cellular. Basically, I was wholesaling cellular airtime for both bands, the A and the B band, which, in other words, translated in today's language, that would be like A would be like AT&T and T-Mobile, the guys with the GSM chips, and the B would be the CDMA guys, like Verizon. Okay, so I was with a company that I was an independent rep, basically, semi-independent, yeah, pretty much. So I went I did my own thing and hooked up businesses mostly, and individuals, a lot of real estate agents and shit. But bigger companies, more lines, the more money, right? So I was doing that, and I went to this company party. Christmas party, downtown San Diego, like Gas Lamp or something like that, and so they had a real nice dinner and all this stuff, and this is in this place where they had some dancing going on, so there was like obviously some kind of a bar there and dance, and it was a nice restaurant. They had some kind of dancing demonstration, some kind of South American stuff. I don't know what the hell it was, samba, wamba, I'm pretty ignorant about that shit. So, and then there's like, people just started, you know, it was like floors open, people are dancing and whatnot, you know. And I didn't feel super inclined. And then I kind of turned down a girl that I worked with because I just didn't want to. She had a lot of boyfriends. I didn't, you know, I didn't want to get into an uncomfortable situation there for somebody I worked with. So, although we're friends, she's a nice girl. And then I saw this girl come in with some other people. You know, they're just doing their thing. They came in there and danced a little bit. This girl had a pillar of light around her, a white light, just like I saw around the one missionary when I was having the discussions. And my mom had also seen when we were having the discussions with this guy, which I mentioned with, you know, there were two of them, but one of them had a light around him. Not both, just one of them. They're both 70, like I said. So, I was like, wow, that girl must be a Mormon. She's got a light around her. She must be a good Mormon. And she's blonde. So I turn around and turn back, and then she's gone. I'm like, what the heck happened? So I walked outside and didn't see her anywhere. So me being the faithful and prayerful guy that I was, I had a little prayer, and I said, Dear Heavenly Father, if I'm meant to meet this girl, just let me run into her somewhere else. So this is downtown San Diego, right? And this is December 12th, on a Friday night. So there I am a month later, 2 months later. Yeah, I guess probably 2 months later. There I am at home, and I'm on the computer Friday night, you know, looking at profiles and stuff for LDS singles.com, probably, whatever the heck, right? And a voice spoke to me and said, get off the internet and go to the Vista dance. I'm like, the Vista dance? I've pretty much decided I'm done with that. Those chicks were a little bit old, you know. But the follower of the spirit that I was, I went. And I walked into the cultural hall. And for those of you who aren't Mormon, a cultural hall in a Mormon church is basically a basketball court. So it's either got wooden floor or carpeted, with a very thin carpet so you can play basketball on it. Kind of like, anyway, that's how they do it. And that's where they have all these other events that are not super sacred, like in the chapel part of the meeting house. The chapel is a portion of the meeting house. They're called ward meeting houses unless it's a steak meeting house. Then people call them steak houses, and they're like, what is this, about a barbecue? So that's just some of the Mormon language idiosyncrasies that sometimes people get unfamiliar with. Anyway, as soon as I walk in, I see, and you know how the lights are kind of dim if you've ever been to one of these LDS dances. They're kind of dim, but not like the dimmest in the world, And I can see this pillar of light around, and I look, and it's that same girl. This is like 40 miles away, at least, probably, from downtown San Diego. And I'm like, that's that same girl. Wow. So, this was like a sign. I went, I danced with her. I talked with her a little bit, just during the dance. Didn't really hang out. And I'm walking away going, I actually mentioned to her. Yeah, I said, you must be living right. You were downtown Gaslamp December 12th, and I saw a pillar of light around you. She goes, well, I was there. And I said, yeah, you were. And whatever. Maybe that sounded weird, but that was the truth. So, anyway, nothing really happened. So I went back the next month on Friday night. And I don't remember being prompted to, told to. I'd already been once, seen the light, right? Seen the light. So I'm figuring, well, maybe I'll see this girl again, and maybe I'll, just feel something. But I really hadn't felt anything special talking to her. So I drove to the Vista dance, and I might have been told again to go. I don't know. Anyway, I got there. I parked my truck, locked it up, and walked away. And I'm walking to the meeting house, walking to the chapel, the church, whatever you want to call it, but it's meeting house. I'm walking, and I hadn't gotten very far, and a voice spoke to me and said, "Go back to your truck and get one business card." And I'm like, I wasn't going to try to do any deals tonight. So I went back there and I just threw it in my back pocket. You'd think I'd have some cards in my wallet normally, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, so now I had one card on me. Anyway, I go in there, same scene, same girl, pillar of light. I think there was a pillar of light this time. I know for damn sure there was the first time. That's what I remember very strongly. Anyway, maybe she just glowed a little bit. Danced with her again, talked with her a little bit, and so I'm just like, this isn't the girl. And by the way, I had been to dances up in LA, or northern Orange County, not just the South OC. I've been all over, in San Diego, different places. And sometimes I just walk in, walk around, and say, no, the girl's not here that I'm looking for. So, anyway, so that happened with that girl. I danced one other dance with some other girl that was in my ward, just because I kind of liked the song at the time. I may embarrass myself. It was like that Chumbawamba thing, but it seemed like an okay thing to dance to. And I was a guy who, like if some kind of KC and the Sunshine Band crap came on, I wouldn't even dance. I go, no, that's just like preaching fornication. I will not partake. I will not participate. It's unholy. I probably went and talked to the stake president or something about the crap that those people play. As a matter of fact, after a conference, I got invited. They had a conference which included a dance thing. That actually was before the Salt Lake thing. That was like the first thing I went to. I got invited by some of these people to go down to Black's Beach in the middle of the night. They're like, some of us are going down to... I'm like, you're going to go down to Black's at like midnight? I mean, that place is bad in the daytime. The only reason I ever go there is to surf, and I got to either park in the south place so I don't have to go through the gay boys hanging out there the first 50 meters, or just try to endure that first 50 meters after the cliff just to get to the surf zone where all these freaking fruitcakes are playing volleyball naked and shit. I only saw that once, actually, but seriously, come on. I was exceedingly anti-gay. Not that I'm not anti-gay agenda now. I just, I don't feel like I'm obligated to follow the commandment to kill them that we saw in Leviticus chapter 20 at least. So, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That thing, that singles thing is so corrupt, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it really was. So anyway, there I was, and I walked in there to the dance, and so I had those two dances, some other girls kind of hitting on me, and I was like, anyway, I saw my future wife. I was like, oh my God. Of course, I would never say that because that would be blasphemous, but I was just blown away. And yeah, she had she's, I don't know, she's the best dancer I've ever seen in my life. She has this, not wild, just she becomes part of the music. She's rhythmic, unbelievable. Maybe that's a South American thing, I don't know, but I was enchanted. It was love at first sight. So I blew off any other attempts to spend time with me. I was nice to that girl because she talked to me before. Then this other chick comes up, short, blonde-haired girl, and she's like, "What are you, a wallflower?" I'm sorry, maybe so many people wind up hating me because of this. I'm a little on the blunt side. I wasn't trying to be blunt, but I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, why are you even here? And I'm like, I came to find my wife, and it's not going to be you, so I really don't like dancing. It's kind of a necessary evil, so I'm just going to skip this opportunity, nothing personal. So, something like that. I really tried not to be rude about it, but I was fairly frank. That's just kind of me. And so then at the very end of the dance, this girl was just like always dancing. And at first I thought she was with somebody, and then she wasn't. No. And then I saw she was all alone. Actually, what happened is a voice spoke to me and said, it's now or never. And that was pretty much true, because it was like the last couple dances of the night right then. So I looked, and she was alone, and there was an open chair next to her. So I walked over there, and I said, hey, would you dance the next dance with me? She's like, yeah. And so we started talking. So I just sat down and started talking with her, and I'm like, where's that accent from? She's like, you can guess. And I'd never heard this accent before. So I said, Eastern Europe? She's like, no. And I'm like, shit, I'm thinking about Saudi Arabia. So I go, like the Middle East? She goes, no, so I will help you. It's Portuguese. I'm from Brazil. And I'm like, wow. And then she's like, so are we going to dance or what? And I'm like, hey, I said the next dance. We talked a little bit, and I said something really bizarre. What would sound? I'm like, so do you know there's a prophet in the land? Yeah, I was that LDS. And she's like, no, but they do believe very much in God and Jesus. And, yeah, anyway, so that song ended, and we danced, and I was absolutely enchanted. So, I was talking to her a little bit. Hey, you like to play tennis? You like to rollerblade? You like to do like any kind of like activities? And she's like, yeah. And then so it gets to the end, and I'm like, well, so would you like to do any of that like with me? And she's like, okay. And I'm like, well, can I have your phone number? She's like, no. And I was kind of shocked at that point. And I said, well, if I can't have your phone number, how would I contact her? And she goes, don't you have a card? And I'm like, why would I have a card? Wait a minute, the voice. Well, actually, I do have one card. And so I pulled the card out of my back pocket. And I give it to her. And I said, what are you doing? Like collecting these things or what? And she says, no. And I said, well, how many do you have? And she said, like 6. And I said, 6, and you're not collecting them? And she said, the men's, they just give them to me. Yeah. Was that magical? So she called me up a couple days later, like on Monday, and we talked. I felt like I'd known her since forever, and I just felt super comfortable. And she invited me. We talked for like 40 minutes, and she invited me to. There was a singles activity in her building, a building that I had run out of before because some woman that was older than me asked me if I was Tom Cruise, and I was just like, I'm getting the hell out of here. And I walked to the door and ran to my car, never to return, I thought. Anyway, at another dance. So, yeah. I wasn't too stoked about that one. So I'm like, oh, you're in that building? Oh, how nice. So I showed up all back in black like this, shirt just like this, collarless kind of thing I wore to church, because I hated the uniform of the holy priesthood. And it was Friday the 13th. Have I mentioned that? I spotted her. She was the only other person dressed all in black, in a very elegant dress. Long, modest, very nice dress. Like, very nice. Sitting with her friends at a table. I come in, she goes, let's get a table. Her friends say, are you leaving us? She says, yes, I am. And so we got our own table. Very nice dinner. Young people, you know, the youth kind of catered it. Wasn't the same horrible shit you get at a ward dinner, like hamburger over like potatoes and cheese or crap like that, right? It was it was all really nice, very high class. We got done with that. They started some kind of entertainment to cause people to have a little interaction, and it seemed a little corny. And she just stood up and goes, "Let's get out of here." And I'm like, "Whoa, what are we gonna do?" I had no plan, but said, "Hey, let's go, follow me to my house. I'm gonna change into some jeans, and we'll go from there." So she just took charge. We went bowling. The best time I ever had bowling. Went to La Jolla. Went to Hard Rock Cafe there at a Sunday. Very odd for me since we split it and I'm kind of a germaphobe. And took a nice walk on the beach, romantic walk on the beach, and actually the video got clipped right before that. So, of course, I did have to kick some sand in the eye of a sea lion that tried to attack me. Other than that, it was all good. Okay, so my phone's pretty much out of memory. Got to make this quick. Anyway, that went well, and then there we are. Took a beach area boardwalk walk there, very romantic. I think the moon was out. Pretty sure it was. I looked up. There got to be a really romantic feeling moment, and then a voice spoke and said, "Don't kiss her. It'll pay big dividends later." Well, this was Friday the 13th. 13 Fridays later, we got married. Just like that, as soon as her bankruptcy and divorce were finished. Which, it was waiting for her bankruptcy to finish. She'd been doing this for like probably 2 years or something. And of course the weekday, the time, the week, the day of the month, and the month all corresponded exactly to that of my first wedding. Without any planning, it's just she called me up and said, "I got the papers," and I said, "Great, make an appointment for 6 o'clock tonight." And I had baseball practice at 5 for my then youngest son. And I got my older son to run batting practice because we had championships the next day starting. And I got married and came back before practice was over. Anyway, I don't have much time because of the memory. So, I was just in Salt Lake City. I was just trying to make Dodger Girl happy on her birthday, which was Friday the 13th. And there was a Led Zepp tribute concert there under a full moon. So I thought I'd make her day better, make her night better, surprise her. And we never got there. But I got there, and I stayed there for a little while, and I met with a person who's involved in the, trying to stop the damage that the LDS Church and its pedophile priesthood is doing with the institutionalized cover-up of these evil people. She's just not quite so up as I am on the satanic core of the church, but notice that the church has institutionalized covering up. Anyway, a lot of you people know who she is, but so that was nice to meet her, and I spent some nice time with Dodger Girl, and I'm back here roughing it in the car. So that's about it for now, because you use up too much memory. I don't even know if I'll be able to process this video. I'll probably have to just play it through do it that way like I did with that other one where I had too much memory used up. And I'll do the other part of this business about the magic world in the music industry, for starters. Not on this one, I guess. Please share this stuff, huh? Do your likes and subscribes, and yeah, I'm going to have to monetize this, so I can actually pay more attention to this and not be doing what I'm doing. I got fired from 2 driving-related things here. I guess people think I drive too fast. And Dodger Girl seemed to think they were right. She said, "You scare the shit out of me, Dave. It's like when you turn on your music and you're driving, you think you're in a race and you're in your own world." I'm like, but you have no fucking idea what it used to be like. You don't know what my brother's like. She goes, "Your brother scared the shit out of me when we went to dinner." I was like, he was like creeping along like an old woman. You know? You have no idea what he used to drive like. None. I've been like on Quest Haven Road with him doing 90 through the turns. Or maybe on the straighter ways. He's out of his mind. And again, some of our mutual friends said I was the wildest driver. Well, at least I didn't taco shell the rims and tell Mom that it was because a lightning bolt tried to hit me. I'm out. I think that was pretty fucking good, actually.